Welcome back to the deep dive for another
journey into
a trip into the strange and unusual. You know, we like to call it occult archives.
occult archives. Yeah,
We go into the books that have captivated and terrified people for centuries. And today,
we've got a really good one.
yeah, this is a particularly
It's an interesting one.
a particularly intriguing one.
Yeah.
This is the Book of Forbidden Knowledge.
Yeah, the Book of Forbidden Knowledge.
First published in 1910.
1910. Yep.
And recently republished in 2021 by Global Gray. And it's got a very
it's a very
not very
it's very unassuming.
Almost bland, kind of a bland cover. Still life of an open book.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It doesn't give you much.
Yeah, it doesn't really hint at.
It doesn't really prepare you for what's inside.
It's inside.
Yeah.
So this is the Book of Forbidden Knowledge.
And it is jam-packed with all kinds of...
it's a compendium of...
It's a
like a grab bag
of
all this
esoteric stuff.
Esoteric and arcane knowledge, divination, dream interpretation, witchcraft, love spells, black magic, talismans, charms, talismans and charms.
Fortune-telling superstitions.
Yeah, all that stuff.
It really is a window into a time when the veil between the
mundane
and the magical was
the magic was very thin.
Very porous.
Maybe even non-existent.
Yeah.
To a lot of people. So this is a journey
into a world where that was just the case.
Into that world.
Yeah.
So let's just dive right in.
Okay.
And let's start by looking at
dive right in.
Divination. The book goes into some very specific methods for divination, especially around that ultimate unknown death.
Right. Like how do we
foretell it?
Foretell death.
Yeah. Midsummer Eve.
Midsummer Eve,
yeah.
It says here. Seems to be a time where you could do that.
If you fast.
You could foretell.
On the church porch.
Foretell death.
At midnight on Midsummer's Eve. You can get a preview.
You get a preview of who's gonna die that year.
Die in the next year.
Because the spirits will come and knock on the door.
Spirits come and knock on the door
of the church porch.
And they'll knock
in order of who's going to die.
Who's going to die next.
All right.
So if you hear a knock,
that's pretty. That's sure spooky.
And then another knock, and it's like
if you recognize the knock, you're next.
They're next.
Yeah.
It even says that.
There's a story in here.
Yeah, there's a story in here
about
Asher
on the church porch.
Fell asleep.
And their ghost was seen.
Their ghost was seen as one of the
people.
Spirits knocking.
Yeah.
Very
interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very spooky.
Midsummer Eve.
So
it wasn't just for figuring out who was going to die.
Not just for...
You could also figure out who you were going to marry.
You can also use it to see who you're going to marry.
If you were
an unmarried woman.
An unmarried woman, you can lay a cloth.
Lay a cloth with bread.
With bread, cheese, and ale at midnight.
Cheese and ale.
And leave the door open.
Leave the door open.
And your future husband will come.
Yeah, they'll come visit
you. That's a very spooky version of it. Spooky version of a dating app.
A dating app.
Right. This is very specific kind of.
Yeah, very specific.
Like you're only going to attract a certain type of guy.
Right.
If you're leaving bread and cheese and ale out.
You're not going to attract a teetotaler.
No, it's not for everybody. But if you're into that. Go for it.
And then in January, St. Agnes's night on the 21st, you have a different ritual.
Slightly different, yeah. This one involves pins.
And a paternoster.
So you're gonna
you do this ritual.
Dream of your future husband
with the pins and the paternoster, and you dream of your future.
It's almost like it's blending religion and magic.
Like a combination of
it really shows you that line was
ritual and folk,
a hard line back then.
Folk magic.
Yeah, very blurry.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you didn't want to use,
if you don't like pins,
there's another slightly more involved,
more complicated
method.
Yeah.
You sleep in a
different country.
And you knit.
You knit your left garter.
Around your right stocking.
While reciting a verse. And then
And
your future partner will appear
in your dream.
In your dream.
And they'll have the insignia of their trade on that.
So you'll know what they do.
Hey, I'm a blacksmith.
Yeah. Or
I'm a cobbler. Or a cobbler.
Yeah.
Right? Like a very specific kind of dream job interview.
Dream job interview.
But these rituals, what's interesting to me is how specific this stuff is.
Right. And it's like a recipe.
You have to do this.
Right. Like on this day.
You got to do this.
At this time.
On this
time. With these words.
With these things. With these words.
It's like there's no room for error.
Yeah. There's no room for error.
Yeah. Very precise.
And then the movie.
The moon too plays a part. Yeah, you could,
there's a ritual.
You could see your husband
involving the first new moon after New Year's Day.
Yeah.
You stand over a gate.
And
you
say these lines.
Yeah. And
he appears in a dream.
Yeah, Ihilm. And
who needs elaborate rituals when you have...
Yeah, if you've got wedding leftovers. Right.
Thrice throwing a slice of bride cake through the wedding ring. And placing it under
the head of unmarried...
An unmarried woman. Yeah.
Or using a piece of what's called... Or groaning cheese. Which is a cheese that's traditionally made.
A cheese that's traditionally made.
Around childbirth. Yeah. In the north of England.
In the north, they would use that.
England could also
bring...
a dream of a future spouse.
Yeah. So wedding season was
sounds like
was prime time for hopeful singles.
Prime time for love magic.
Looking for a sign.
Yeah. Let's move on from actively seeking visions.
So that's actively seeking visions. Let's go to
just receiving them.
Receiving visions. Passively, like through dreams.
Oracles through dreams.
This book has...
The book outlines ideal conditions.
Ideal conditions for true dreams.
For these true dreams.
Yeah, for a true dream, you need a pure spirit.
A sound body.
And an undisturbed mind.
It's
almost like a...
it's almost like a prescription for...
An ancient mindfulness prescription.
Right, but with the divinatory aim.
But with the aim of prophecy. The book says...
And it says to avoid...
vices.
The heavy meals. Strong drink.
If you want your dreams...
To be prophetic. Yeah.
It's a very direct advice.
And it categorizes.
And it even categorizes...
different kinds of true dreams.
4 different kinds of true dreams.
Like matutine dreams, which are the ones that you have. Between sleep and waking. To dreams about others.
People.
And dreams where the meaning is revealed within the dream.
Yeah.
It's a very...
very detailed attempt to...
kind of codify,
systematizing the dream world.
Yeah.
It's like they're trying to...
to find the patterns in something that feels very...
In something that's inherently kind of random.
Yeah. Like the chaos of the dream.
Yeah, and they even talk about...
they talk about using
things like...
perfumes
and...
rings of the sun or Saturn.
Associated with the sun or Saturn.
Yeah, to encourage these...
prophetic dreams.
It's almost like
they thought there was...
They thought that there was some kind of...
interaction between the physical and the spiritual, right? And then they talk about creating these dream images.
Which are essentially
talismans.
And
you're supposed to make these under specific
astrological conditions. Yeah.
And each one is linked to
a sleep.
And the planetary
and it
biology.
Would prompt you to have a certain dream.
And you put these images under your pillow.
So for instance, Venus as the evening star.
When you're sleeping.
It refers to when the planet Venus is visible.
Yeah. They talk about Venus as the evening star.
After sunset, which
I guess.
Which they believed
held particular significance.
After sunset.
Yeah, at that time, energetically.
But they're quick to point out that these images...
They say these images alone are ineffective without spiritual and celestial virtue.
Spiritual and celestial virtue.
And crucially...
your own desire.
Crucially, your own desire and intention.
Well, it's not enough just to have the object. It's got to want it about the magic ingredients.
Got to have the right mindset.
You got to have the right mindset, too.
Yeah. They also briefly mention using...
number tables.
Number tables for oracles.
Yeah. So it's like so they're hinting at other ways.
Going like a more mathematical approach.
Like a more mathematical...
a dream interpretation.
Approach to interpreting dreams. Yeah, not just like...
And then when it comes to preparing for these dreams, the preparation, the advice is...
it's pretty rigorous.
Pretty rigorous. Abstain from supper.
Abstain from supper.
And drink.
Make sure your bedroom is...
clean and consecrated.
Use perfumes.
Use perfumes and unguents. Wear dream rings. And meditate on what you want to know. And meditate on the knowledge you seek. So you've got to really, right atmosphere.
You got to want it.
For a good night's prophecy.
And
they say that the timing...
timing's important, too.
It's important. A specific type of oracle dream...
was more likely...
have the certain type of dream...
when they moved
in a
specific alignment.
Astrological alignment.
Yeah, in your birth chart.
And the ultimate aim was to...
the aim was to...
unlock understanding in various fields.
Unlock understanding of astrology.
From astrology to medicine.
Medicine.
Sometimes even with the assistance of spirits.
The help of spirits. It's like...
dreams are a direct line.
Profound knowledge.
Profound knowledge.
Yeah.
Right.
If you are, for those who are...
particularly interested in love.
Particularly interested in matters of the heart. The book offers some...
yeah, there's some unique...
methods for...
interesting.
dreaming of future husband.
Yeah, like...
the ring and the olive branch.
And the olive branch. Charm.
Charm, yeah.
This is a pretty elaborate...
for a very elaborate process. You buy a ring. You give the change to a beggar.
To a beggar. And you note...
and you know what they say.
Their words, and you write down your details.
You write down your details.
Yeah.
And the astrological alignment.
Astrological alignment at that moment.
At that moment.
Yeah. Attach the ring to an olive branch.
Attach the ring that's been soaked in.
The olive branch. Soaked in a honey vinegar mixture. You wear it.
You wear it until the 9th hour.
The 9th.
Which is about 3 p.m.
Which is around 3 p.m. And then...
you bury it.
You bury it.
In the grave of an unmarried...
young man.
Unmarried young man.
While reciting your name backwards.
While reciting your name backwards.
And then silently return home.
You return home.
Paying attention.
Silently. And you see if there's a light in your chimney when you get there.
In your chimney. Yeah. That's a lot of work.
Yeah. For a potential dream date.
Dream date.
Yeah. And then... if no husband appears...
no husband appear.
There are interpretations for that. If you dream of children... that suggests unmarried motherhood.
Unmarried motherhood. And if you dream...
but if you dream of...
crowds of men...
that's a warning.
Against prostitution.
It's like... it's like they're really worried.
Worried about...
female virtue. Right.
Then there's love's cordial.
Yeah. Which is to be attempted on the 3rd?
On the 3rd night.
Of the new moon.
Of a new moon?
Yeah. And this one, you're in bed.
You consume a concoction.
This concoction of brandy, rum, gin, wine, oil of amber, cream,
and spring water.
Yeah. While in bed.
And you say an incantation.
And then
you have dreams related to drink.
Subsequent dreams.
And then you interpret them.
Are interpreted.
So water signifies poverty.
Water signifies poverty.
A drunken man.
A drunken spouse.
A man means a drunken spouse.
Okay.
It's like a
like a premarital counseling session.
A boozy, dream-fueled premarital counseling session.
Yeah, but in your dreams.
Okay, let's go.
It's interesting how
from the dream world to
lucky and unlucky days.
Lucky and unlucky days.
Yeah, the book gives us detailed
lists of unlucky days.
Unlucky days for men and women.
For men and women. And then misfortunes. Expert speaker.